Morning, glory, America. Bonjour, hi, Canada. It's Hugh Hewitt on Thursday, July the 22nd. I'm on my penultimate day of the show before a 2-week break lies ahead of me, and I'm going out to California just to enjoy a little bit lower temperatures. Although there's a lot of drama in California, I'll be writing for the Washington Post about, and I may have to break in and do a couple of special reports with Colonel Kurt Schlichter, who's sitting in for me next week, and then Ed Morrissey and Mark Davis the week thereafter. LA County is in the midst of a huge coronavirus spike. The unvaccinated throughout the country are finding themselves sick because the Delta variant is something we call virulent, meaning it's just going everywhere. It's very, very contagious. If you have managed to escape the virus yet and you're not vaccinated, I think the odds are you are going to get it. About half the country is fully vaccinated. If we were at 75 to 80%, it would break down the chain, but there are just too many people running around without a vaccine, so that the Delta variant is going to run, and this big spike in LA is the lead story on the Los Angeles Times. Now, normally I don't begin my morning with the Los Angeles Times, but I'm looking there because there are also these incredible fires, the mismanagement of California forests and Oregon forests and Washington state forests, have continued, and there are these massive fires in Northern California, and they're probably going to spread down to Southern California as the Santa Anas kick up. I'll check with Dwayne in just a moment. The other big news is, of course, the recall is September 14th. There will be 2 questions on the ballot. Should Gavin Newsom continue as governor? He scheduled it early because he did not want California parents to go back and find that their schools were going to be closed, but that's what's going to happen. I see what the teacher unions are doing. And 2 developments in that. Kevin Faulconer, the former mayor of San Diego, considered by many to be the front runner, though there is no reliable polling. Boy, after this week's poll story by Dan Balls in the Washington Post showing polling to have been the worst it has been in 40 years on the state level. No one should be trusting any poll about Gavin Newsom coming in or staying out. It's just impossible to poll a turnout model. Everybody who's upset with Gavin Newsom is going to come to the polls. Who's going to come in first on the second question? That's a tightly fought contest. Larry Elder, my former colleague on the Salem radio network, he has now left because he has felt a calling. I'll talk to Larry. I'll talk to all the candidates, including Kevin Faulconer today, all of the serious candidates. I will talk to them in the course of the next 2 weeks because I think all of America is going to be deeply, deeply interested in whether or not a big blue state governor who botched COVID, who botched public education, who botched spending and PPP, and who have not done anything about drought or infrastructure, paralyzed. California has been paralyzed by just 10 years of Jerry Brown and Gavin Newsom. I think they're going to rise up and throw Gavin Newsom out. I have no idea who's going to win. I'm not going to be involved in moderating debates, and so I'm not going to be involved in endorsing anyone, but I'll bring everyone along and ask them all the same question. I can be meticulously fair. But Larry Elder had been tossed off of the ballot by that know-nothing, no-name Secretary of State. They're afraid of Larry juicing turnout, obviously, and not just in the African-American community, but across the spectrum, because Larry is a great and inspirational figure. His life story is very inspirational. If you've seen his movies, if you've read his book, if you've listened to his show for decades and decades, he's ubiquitous in California. They didn't want him on the ballot. They tried to keep him off. He was ordered onto the ballot. At the same time, Kevin Faulconer wanted accurately to record his title as former mayor of San Diego, and they wouldn't let him put that on there. I don't know what I'll ask him today what his title will be. He's coming on today in the last segment of the show. But it's going to be a big race. It is going to be a serious race. At the top is Doug Osee, a former congressman, Larry Elder, and Kevin Faulconer. John Cox, a former Republican nominee for governor. Caitlyn Jenner is a serious factor in the race. Kevin Kiley, who led the recall petition gathering drive. Kevin Kiley is a serious figure in the race. All of them will be invited on the Hugh Hewitt Show, as I'm sure they will be on every talk show throughout California, and the debates will tell us a lot. But right now, the media, the mainstream media, the blue bubble media, the Los Angeles Times and the Sacramento Bee, they all want you to believe there's no race and Gavin's going to coast in. That ain't true, friends. This is a Prop 13 moment. Now, you have to be old enough. I moved to California for the first time in June of 1978, in the immediate aftermath of Prop 13. And I really didn't know anywhere else in the country what was going on. And indeed, the people in California did not see it coming. It is the now famous cap on property taxes rising. Because as is happening now throughout the United States, throughout the United States, home values in California 40 years ago were going through the roof. They were going up 10, 15, 20%, in some places 50% a year, and property taxes had no cap, and people were losing their homes. This is going to be the same thing that happens in the United States as property values go up and the assessors run around and they say, well, your house, I did a story yesterday out of the Wall Street Journal about Star, Utah, where houses have doubled in price in 3 years. Well, people move into a house and the property taxes are, say, $4,000 a year, and they save via escrow accounts, et cetera, for that $4,000. And then all of a sudden, the assessors, you haven't done anything, you haven't changed, you haven't doubled your salary, you bought the house, and you maybe stretched a little bit to get the house, and your property taxes double. Well, you revolt against the state tax regime, because property tax is not a good way to run the state. Everything should be user fees, but that's another story. So we're going to see Prop 13s everywhere. Well, Prop 13 stunned the political class, and it didn't poll very well. And I'm here to tell you, there are no Howard Jarvis figures in California anymore. He was the father of Prop 13. But there are a lot of people in California who really, really, really don't like Gavin Newsom, who's a wonderful guy, by the way. I think he's a fine guy. He's just a little overwhelmed, a lot overwhelmed by homelessness, by COVID, by economic issues, by people like me who left the state for a variety of reasons, including the unbearable tax burden on ordinary people, and especially public education falling apart in what used to be one of the great university systems in the world, one of the great state college systems in the world, one of the great community college systems in the world. It's falling apart. So Larry Elder is on the ballot. I don't know what we're going to call Kevin Falconer, but he'll be on today, as will be, by the way, Michael Shear of the New York Times. I want to catch up with him about what's going on in the White House. The biggest story nationally is that Nancy Pelosi is attempting a coup in the House of Representatives. The House of Representatives has run the same way since it began. It divided into parties almost immediately, and soon it evolved into a majority leader and a minority leader, but on top of them all with the Speaker. The Speaker has never been nonpartisan as they are in the British Parliament, but they have always respected party rule of their own caucuses and committee assignments, etc. Nancy Pelosi, having lost the effort to get an independent commission established for January 6th, the insurrection on January 6th, that didn't get through the Senate because it was a not fair piece of law, and therefore it's languishing. She decided to put together her own committee. Again, that's her prerogative as the Speaker of the majority party. She usurped one of the positions on, it's not a fair split. Normally it would be 13 members, 7 Democrats, 6 Republicans. The leader of the Republicans would name the 6. Speaker Pelosi took 8 of the seats and named Republican Liz Cheney. Now, I have a lot of respect and admiration for Liz Cheney. People kind of thought about that for a while. They didn't like the precedent of the Speaker putting a member on, but they overlooked it. And Kevin McCarthy named 5 other members, including ranking minority member Jim Banks, a friend of mine from Indiana, who is a relative newcomer, but he is the largest elected member of a caucus in the House of Representatives. Jim Banks leads the Republican Study Committee. He has broad and deep support in the House caucus, and then 4 other people to go along with Liz Cheney. And Nancy Pelosi vetoed Jim Banks and Jim Jordan, and the Republicans are out. Never before even considered. The most radical thing by a person who is alleged to be investigating radical behavior. Nancy Pelosi never misses a chance to be hyper-partisan and destroyed by partisanship. There will be no panel. There'll be a Nancy Pelosi circus, and I guess Liz is going to attend that, but it's going to be a circus. It's got no legitimacy, and no minority party would ever accept a majority party doing what they did. Senate Republicans, as predicted, as I told you, blocked an infrastructure bill yesterday, and that was especially predictable and may come back next week. Kurt Schlichter will tell you about that when I am out. Republicans are threatening to hold up the debt ceiling. Actually, they have no authority to hold up the debt ceiling. The Democrats run everything. They can put the debt ceiling into reconciliation. Pass it tomorrow with 50 votes. Easy to do. So don't believe anything that you read there. The states got $26 billion out of the opioid settlement, and I'll talk to you a little bit after the break about that. And in Surfside, Florida, another condo building has been evacuated. Sometimes a disaster like that wakes up a lot of people to a lot of disasters that could happen. That particular condo building is 70 years old. They've decided to tear it down and build a new one, which, kind of makes sense when buildings get to be 70 years old and live on the ocean. Don't go anywhere, America. A lot more today on the Thursday edition of the Hugh Hewitt Show, including Kevin Faulconer, former mayor of San Diego, maybe the next governor of California. Welcome back, America. I'm Hugh Hewitt. Thank you for joining the Hugh Hewitt Show. I'm joined by Dr. Michael Oren, former Israeli ambassador to the United States. He is now in Israel. Hello, Dr. Oren. Good morning.
Good afternoon. Good morning. You too.
I've got two questions for you. The first has to do with the return of COVID to Israel. The Delta variant is surging. Los Angeles County has had to go back to a mask mandate. Half of America isn't got two vaccines or fully vaccinated with one J&J shot, and therefore it's just ravaging the unvaccinated. India's got 3 million dead. What's the situation in India, in Israel?
In Israel, we have the highest level of infection since last March, about 1,400 people per day. But the number of people who are actually hospitalized, the number of people who are being ventilated is very, very low. I think there's a fear among the health experts that this can get out of control very, very fast. If we don't clamp down now, we'll lose that control. But the Israeli people are very nervous. We're finally getting back on our feet, beginning to recuperate from the losses of 2021 and 2020. And here we are, getting slapped down again. And, speaking personally, a lot of my work is international. I need that airport open.
Well, it's interesting to me that I wrote a piece for the Washington Post this week. We don't know what the Epsilon variant will be like, or any variant up to Omega, but it is entirely possible that one of them evades the vaccines unless we shut it down now. It could go very bad on us. We're just sort of assuming the worst is behind us. That's a human sort of natural bias towards best case scenario. But there is no best case scenario. There's only what's going to happen, Michael. Do the Israelis get that?
We get it, but I think there's a sense here, especially among young people, is that young people are paying the price for elderly people, and that this is a new reality, and we're just going to have to live with it. And I hear that from young Israeli after young Israeli, and not just from the young people.
But when you talk to them, do they realize that the variants are out there, that the 1918 influenza got much, much worse over the summer of 1918? It killed young people. It killed children. It killed young adults in the Army. Do they get that? That if it mutates, it's bad?
No, they do not. No, they do not.
Wow.
And, masks are back here. They don't. And you're dealing with a very tired population. And there was, at one point, close to 1 million people out of work. And now they've just recovered. If you do it the first time, you have a sense of camaraderie, of togetherness, solidarity. By the fourth time, that sense of solidarity has really been eroded.
Now, who is the new health minister in the Bennett government?
The new health minister is a good minister. He comes from the left, Nissan. I think that is not the issue. I think it's not coming from the health minister. It's coming from the health professionals. And I think that the health professionals are very scared. And I understand it. You take a step back, you understand it. This could get out of control very quickly. We can go from
I'm just wondering if they're doing a good job. Are they doing a good job communicating risk to the public? Not fear, but risk.
They are not.
All right. That's the same way in the United States.
Hey,
Second
I don't
question.
Understand it. if I don't get it, believe me, a lot of people out there aren't getting it.
Yesterday I met for the first time Qatar's ambassador to the United States, Sheikh Michel Tani, and we talked a little bit. My conversations are, of course, confidential when I talk to anyone like that, but I heard a little bit about their view of the Gaza situation. What's your view right now? Will there be a resumption of aid? Is there an enduring ceasefire there?
I think there'll be a resumption of aid. I think there'll be a enduring ceasefire. I think that that Hamas realized that even though it won the popularity war, it has nothing really to gain at this point from renewal of hostilities. Israel does not want to renew hostilities, especially as we're clamping down again on COVID. I think it's going to hold, and they'll find some way of getting aid to the civilian population, and some way Hamas will find a way of getting its hands on that aid. That's just the way it works.
Now, yesterday I spent a half hour with Ernie Moniz, the former Secretary of Energy, talking about the new JCPOA. He, of course, negotiated JCPOA 1. Very polite conversation. I always, of course, ask questions. It's not a debate. He believes the election of a hardliner might make it easy to actually reach a deal because there will be clarity from both sides. No more there are moderates in Iran. Well, there aren't any moderates in Iran. This guy's a killer. And he's in line with Ayatollah Khamenei. What do you make about that? If you get the worst part of their regime, if you can make a deal with them, that's more possible than when you've got a mixed up political appearance, even though the president of Iran has no real power.
Yeah, it sounds like Nixon goes to Tehran.
Yeah.
And I'm skeptical because, the Maoists and the Soviets, they weren't jihadists. And in Soviet and Chinese communism, at base, there was an element of logic and an element of flexibility because you were dealing with an ideology and not a theology. There's no flexibility here with religion. No flexibility with Shiite Islam. And I think that you're going to get a hard line, you're going to get a hard line. Right? By the way, I never bought into the whole hard line.
Neither did I, but that
who smiled and who didn't smile.
Yeah, that Band-Aid's been ripped away, right?
Hard line as anybody.
Yeah, but that Band-Aid's gone. No one believes that anymore.
Good to hear. But no, I guess the only reason the JCPOA wouldn't be renewed is because the Iranians somehow overplayed their hand, and they haven't usually. They're very smart. They aren't the Palestinians.
We will see. I just can't believe we're going to come away. Well, I didn't think Nord Stream 2 would be approved either. It's an appeasement presidency. We'll have to wait and see. Dr. Michael Oren, follow him on Twitter, Dr. Michael Oren. Thank you. I'm coming back. Hour number 2, America. Stay with us. Welcome back, America. It's Hugh Hewitt. Coming up next hour, WhyJD Vance and Kevin Faulconer. They're both in big races. JD wants to be the next senator from Ohio. Kevin Faulconer wants to replace Gavin Newsom as governor. I'm joined by Jim Talent, who is no stranger to elections. But before I go to the question of the JCPOA 2.0, Jim, in the last segment, I was asking people if they bought a car because the president last night said this. Let's play this for Senator Talent. President Biden on buying a car.
First of all, the good news is the economy is picking up significantly. It's rational when you think about it. The cost of an automobile is kind of back to what it was before the pandemic.
All right, so Senator Talent, that's nuts. Callers have confirmed that's nuts. So when the president is coherent, he's out of touch. A mistake like that is kind of a bad mistake. It's George H.W. Bush not knowing what the price of milk is.
Yeah, if anybody was watching, I think most Americans probably gave it a miss. He's focusing on the production end. The problem is the Fed's increased the money supply over the last year by what, about 30%?
Yes.
They just added zeros, which is the modern equivalent of printing money. And there's no way the economy is going to increase production enough to cancel out the inflationary effects of that.
And I've just got regular callers calling in, paying $10,000 more than a car they bought the previous year with fewer miles. The president doesn't know when do you think the last time Joe Biden bought a car is, Senator Talent?
Oh, probably, 40 years ago? No, you know what? I don't know.
I don't know
he
either.
Probably did when he was in the Senate, but he hasn't for a while, and certainly not in the last few months. I mean, my wife told me a couple of weeks ago that here in St. Louis, that you go in to buy a car and they'd actually tell you they were increasing the sticker price. In other words, the sticker price was not the price, which in my 64 years I've never heard of.
Neither have I. The sticker price is the starting point to see if you're actually a sentient being or if you just pay it.
Right, exactly. I mean, who pays the sticker price? Well, they don't anymore either. They pay more than that.
Yeah,
and we know what's happening with housing. You know, I laugh about it, but the problem here is, even if the Fed had the will to do something, what do? They increase interest rate. Well, what happens to the interest payments on the federal debt then?
Oh, my gosh.
This has been a problem for years.
It's why the time bomb is out there. Speaking of bombs, I want to bring up my conversation yesterday with Dr. Ernie Moniz. Now, he is a genius. He, the PhD from Stanford and a wonderful guy, and everybody likes Secretary Moniz. He was Secretary of Energy under President Obama. But he was at the JCPOA table, and he thinks a deal is doable again, and he believes there ought to be an international supply of low-enriched uranium, which is a good idea. But he made this argument. People can listen to the whole interview at the interview with Hugh Hewitt, and they should because he's a smart, reasonable Democrat. He argues that now that we have clarity that everyone's a hardliner in Iran, the supreme leader, the new president's a killer and a hardliner, that it's easier to get to a real deal when there aren't any pretend moderates. What do you think about that, Jim Talent?
I don't think it's going to be. I think the Iranians are playing us, Hugh. I mean, this is the classic negotiating tactic. You come to some kind of deal, and it's interesting, isn't it, that the Iranian parliament knows what it is, and Congress evidently doesn't.
No,
right?
we don't. No.
And then you submit it. Oh, I'm sorry, we can't do it. In other words, you're negotiating with people, and then they take it back and say no. And now they're going to that our people are all caught up in the logic of negotiations and got to have a deal. They're going to demand more from them. We're being played, and everybody knew that was going to happen. No, look, you're right about Dr. Maniz. He is a genius, and what he's doing in terms of low enrichment nuclear fuel and energy banks is a very good thing to do for a lot of reasons. But this has never been about the Iranians building a nuclear energy industry. They're sitting on all that oil. They can't manage that. Well,
now, the Emirates have nuclear power. They've got the gold standard. And so you might want to have a backup just so you can sell your oil. It makes a lot of sense for diesel, which is so energy intensive. But that's not what's going on here. They're trying to get a bomb.
They want a nuclear weapon.
Yeah.
I mean, what do we think? The mullahs are worried about climate change, so they're trying to shift to nuclear energy. The whole thing is laughable,
Well, I think I got to ask you, because you were a member of the House. In your knowledge, has a speaker ever vetoed a membership of a committee by the minority?
No, I saw that, and no, it's very, very bad. Yet another really important norm is evidently going down the tubes. And the minority has as its prerogative the right to pick its own committee members. It's always been that way in the Congress. I really, if I was capable of being shocked anymore, I would have been shocked seeing that. You just can't do that. And of course, it's going to bounce back and hurt the Democrats. I mourn at what I'm seeing happening to that institution. I actually have some respect for it, having served there, and I liked it. And it's just wrong to do that. Banks, he's an outstanding member. And Jordan, he's more controversial, but he's a very hardworking guy, and they represent an important point of view. So it's just the wrong thing to do.
I think Jim Banks could have adopted as his model Dick Cheney as lead minority member on Iran-Contra, and they would have had a good, productive session. Nancy Pelosi doesn't actually want that. But I just wanted to be, you were shocked. I just wanted to get that on the record.
Oh, yeah. If I was capable of being shocked anymore. Yes, the first thing I thought was, have I ever seen this? I cannot remember in close to 30 years ever having seen it. Nancy
Pelosi, a lame duck speaker, destroying everything on the way out. It's remarkable. Jim Talent on Twitter, @JimTalent. Thank you, Senator. I'll be right back. WhyJD Vance running for Senate. Kevin Faulconer, who wants to be the next governor of California, are up next hour on the Hugh Hewitt Show. Morning, Glory America. Bonjour, hi, Canada. I'm Hugh Hewitt inside the Beltway. It's candidate hour. Coming up a little bit later in the program, Kevin Faulconer, who wants to replace Gavin Newsom as governor of California, will be joining me. I begin the hour, though, with old friend J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance is running for the United States Senate seat, being vacated by Rob Portman. You know him probably as the author of Hillbilly Elegy. He's also a Yale Law graduate. He's also a graduate of The Ohio State University. He is also a United States Marine, and he's back in Ohio, having done his years in Silicon Valley Jail and working with Peter Thiel, among others. Hello, J.D. Vance. Welcome back. How are you?
Thanks, Hugh. How's it going, man?
Terrific. How goes your campaign?
It's going. Yeah, we launched July 1st in Middletown. We had about 500 people at our launch rally. Thought we'd have 150, so it's good energy. And, just getting around the state. We spent the last couple of days in Northeast Ohio and then in Southeast Ohio, just meeting people and seeing what folks are up to and hearing about their concerns. And that's the part of it that I really like. And, it's good. It's fun.
Did you stop by the hot dog shop in Warren, Ohio, where all candidates must go eventually?
I have not yet made the trip to the hot dog shop, though I did stop at the original Krispy Kreme in Chillicothe yesterday and got a donut. But the picture I took was too embarrassing, so I'm not going to put it on social media.
No. You need to go to the original hot shop, and it's got SHOPPE. Paul Ryan began his vice presidential campaign there. Courthouse Square is where John Kerry and Jack Kennedy came on election eve. So you got to go to Warren. You got to win Warren, JD, if you're going to win this nomination. The Steel Valley is where the votes are. So talk to me a little bit about the Baker Mayfield look. I know that you want to win and all, and I know that you're considered by some to be a front runner, but adopting the Baker Mayfield look, isn't that a little bit, a bridge too far for most people?
Well, I just try to, I have this beard because I got to look a little bit older. I'm only 36, Hugh, and people were telling me I had too much of a baby face, so I decided to grow the beard. My wife likes it. Some people don't, but, I've unfortunately marriage comes before politics, and I've got an audience of one on this look.
No, it's the first time I've seen it, and you're definitely going Mayfield all in, and that's fine because we're going to the Super Bowl. JD, give us a little recap of why you're running for the Senate. I gave your bio. People know your childhood from Hillbilly Elegy, the movie or the book. They know you went to Yale Law School. They know you're a Marine. They know you were in California, came back to Columbus, started to do business development. Why the Senate?
Yeah, well, folks, if they want to learn more, please go to jdvance.com. And the basic story is, as you know, Hugh, America really worked for me. I did not have an easy upbringing. I did not come from a lot of quote unquote privilege, but I've been able to build a really good life here. I've got a beautiful wife and two boys here in Cincinnati, Ohio. My life is just incredibly lucky, and I feel really fortunate and blessed to have been able to live it. But I worry that the American dream is becoming a little less available to a lot of folks all across the state of Ohio, and they need real fighters in the Senate to represent them. And there are a number of ways, a number of forms this takes. I think we've got a border crisis that makes our communities less safe and makes, frankly, the drug problem in our communities a lot worse. We've got a real inflation crisis caused by the Biden administration's runaway spending policies. And also, we've got a real long-term manufacturing crisis where the basic goods and services people want to buy are not even made in their own country. And so you've got the president of China threatening the loss of pharmaceutical ingredients. Can you imagine wanting to go get medicine from your doctor, but you can't get it because your president won't bend the knee to the Chinese Communist Party? People can't buy cars. They can't buy dishwashers. They can't buy a lot of things that use computer chips because, of course, computer chips are in everything. So I think we've got short-term real problems that need to be dealt with on the border. We've got long-term problems that need to be dealt with in our culture and our manufacturing sector. And I just think somebody needs to actually come out and fight for people in Ohio who grew up like I did, who don't really have a voice in the U.S. Senate. And that's why I want to do this.
Now, JD Vance, I want the audience to know I'm in Switzerland again, as I will be for the California recall, as I was in the 2016 presidential race. I'm going to moderate a debate among Ohio would-be Senate candidates in Columbus sometime this fall. The date's not right in front of me. So I'm not endorsing everyone. Everyone will get the same number of shots. I mean, the real candidates, not some crazy person who's running from say, Niles, Ohio. We're not going to let them on the show. But if anyone is out there as a real candidate, I'll invite them on. So I'm a neutral. Having said that, I have watched the mainstream media go after you because, like a lot of Republicans, Donald Trump wasn't your first choice in 2016. To me, the key question is, did you vote for him in 2020 and did you vote for him in 2016?
Yeah, so I've been very open about this. I've been publicly supportive of the president for the last several years, and I did support the president in 2020. I did not vote for him in 2016, and that was a mistake to not do it. I think that I was just a little bit naive about how, frankly, corrupt the left is. But I really had a recognition that the elites in this country are deeply, deeply corrupt, and I think are, frankly, aligned against the American people. And unfortunately, Hugh, this is not just a problem of bad government officials. When I look at America right now, I really worry about the policies of the Biden administration, but I also really worry about the fact that corporate America has basically aligned itself against social and cultural conservatives in this country, where if you just think you come from a good country, if you don't think you have a racist founding generation, then the corporate class in this country will come after you too. And I think once you recognize that, once you really realize how stacked the deck is against American conservatives in this country, I just accepted, like, look, whatever team those people are on, I'm not on their team. I'm on the team of working people in Ohio, and Donald Trump was on their team, and that's why I was very supportive in 2020.
Well, there are a lot of Democrats who changed. Like Joe Biden was originally a pro-life Democrat, I believe. He also used to hang around with Jim Eastland and John Stennis and Sam Ervin and all the segregationist Democrats. He was denouncing them yesterday. But evolution on the left to a new position is never brought up. If anyone evolves their political position on the right, they're considered a hypocrite and a flip-flopper. I'm always amazed by that standard. There's nothing you can do about it, though, JD. So, it's just going to be a constant. They don't want to talk to you about Ohio jobs. I'm going to talk to you about Ohio jobs. Number one thing is Ohio jobs. But just how are you going to deal? They'll never let it go either. Everyone just heard what you just said. I've heard it before. I put it on the record so that people who read this transcript or look at this tape know I asked you the question that makes the Beltway heart beat. It's not really the issue on the minds of most Ohio voters, as far as I know, and I got a lot of friends who are Ohio voters.
I think most Ohio voters just want to know that I'm not going to stab them in the back. They do feel like politicians, not just in Ohio, but outside the state of Ohio, have not really been on their team. And so I think the best signal that I'm on the team of the voters of Ohio is that the media, to your point, Hugh, has come after me like not just no other Senate candidate in this state, but no other Senate candidate nationally. And one of the things I learned about Donald Trump is one of the best ways to judge him was by the enemies that he made. And he made a lot of very, very good enemies. And I think, frankly, I'm making a lot of the same enemies. So I think the attacks from the mainstream press, their weird obsession with me, somebody sent me a few days ago a page from the Washington Post that I was, attacks against me were 3 of the 5 most read stories in the Washington Post. I think those attacks actually helped me in a Republican primary because it sends the signal of whose team I'm really on, and I'm proud of that.
No, you might be right. I am friends with you, with Josh, with Jane Timken. I've met once. I don't know if Matt Dolan, the state senator, is going to run. I know his sister pretty well. Is he going to run, JD?
I've heard that he is, but I don't know, and I try not to focus too much on the day-to-day tactics of the race. I just try to focus on our message and getting it out there, and really about this campaign and what it represents for the people of Ohio. And so I think he'll probably run, but I don't know.
Okay, so my big question is Ohio jobs, because I come from the Steel Valley. We thought that the natural gas boom would reach the valley. It didn't. We thought steel manufacturing would return. It hasn't, except in a couple of small deals. What are you going to do about the burned over areas like Middleton, your hometown, Warren, my hometown, where the boom, there is no Amazon HQ2. Jim Trustle's doing a good job in Youngstown. What are you going to do about that, JD Vance, which is probably the pressing issue along with the opioid epidemic?
Yeah, look, you got to come at it from both angles here. There are 2 big problems we have with Ohio manufacturing jobs. The first is that we continue to really bend the knee to China. And I thought actually the Biden administration might follow Trump's lead and push hard against the Chinese poaching of our manufacturing sector. It looks increasingly like they're not going to do that. So look, we've got to fight the Chinese who are trying to build their middle class on the back of the American middle class. And we've got to be willing to make companies that do business with China really pay for it. Look, if you're going to build the iPhone, you're going to build a lot of these products with Chinese slaves instead of good American Ohio manufacturing workers, then you got to pay a price to enter American markets. I really think it's that simple. So you got to bring the manufacturing supply chains more back to this country. And Hugh, if you talk to people who work in manufacturing, whether as workers or as owners of some of these smaller companies in Ohio, you realize there's a real network effect to this, where if you bring back a few of the core supply chains in manufacturing, it makes it so much easier to build and make things in the United States. That's, of course, not just good for Ohio workers. It's also good for people who just want to live in a country that makes its own stuff so that we don't have to bend the knee to China when we actually want to get the things that we need. The flip side of this is we have got to fix our education system. And that goes from K through 12 all the way to our universities. Our leadership in this country has sent a signal that if you work with your hands, if you don't have a 4-year college diploma on your wall, your job is somehow not respected and not admired. And so you've got a lot of good manufacturers who are trying to hire people right now, but the only people that are looking for jobs are gender studies majors who've got $50,000, $60,000 in student debt. They don't want to work in a manufacturing facility, and we've got to totally flip this around. We got to bring back
100%, JD. We are up against a hard break. Follow him on Twitter at JDVance1. Come back often, jdvance.com. Look forward to talking to you in Columbus when I moderate the debate. JD Vance.